Aloha friends, welcome to Healthy Ukulele. Today I'm going to teach you all of your basic chords, okay? Major, minor, and 7. And it's going to be easier than you think. Okay, the first thing we need to know before anything else is our musical alphabet. Okay, and in music, we just go from A to G. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then it goes back to A. Now you might notice something about the way I wrote this. You notice B and C are right next to each other, and so are E and F, but there's a space between everything else. There's a reason for that. Let's take a look. Okay, let's put a box between each one of these guys. And the reason I'm putting a box between these notes is because there's only one note there, but that note has two names. Okay, so that note that's after A and before B is going to be called up from A, or A sharp, or down from B, or B flat. Now it has both names, it answers to both, but it is the same note, essentially, in pitch, right? Same thing here, C sharp, up from C, or D flat, down from D. D sharp, up from D, or E flat, down from E. F sharp, also known as G flat, and G sharp, also known as A flat. Okay? So that's kind of how it works. And if we look at it on the ukulele, we can see just how this is laid out on our fretboard. All right, so our fretboard is laid out in half steps. If we play the open bottom string, that's an A note. First fret would be A sharp or B flat. B, C, between C and D, C sharp or D flat. D, between D and E, D sharp or E flat. E, F, F sharp or G flat. G, G sharp or A flat. And 12 frets away, we're back to our open position, right? A again. And that's just the way this lays out in terms of on your instrument. Now, the relevance of this, the reason that's important, is because when we learn these chord shapes, the entire shape moves the same way. For example, if I play the C here, and this is how we hold the C chord on the ukulele, by the way. If I were to take those open notes and move them up a fret, and then take that note and move it up a fret, I've got a C sharp. If I move that up one more, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, and so forth. Just like this. All right, that being said, we're going to be dealing with 5 root shapes. And those root shapes are going to have variations in 3 types of chords: major, minor, and 7. And through those variations, we're going to be able to see all of our chords. And that adds up to about 180 chords. But they're just the same chords in different positions. All right, so starting at the beginning, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the basic chords. Okay, so our first chord shape is going to be C. We've got our third finger on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. Okay, and that's how we're going to play it. We're just going to use one finger, leave the top 3 open. Its first variation is going to be C minor. We're going to play the bottom 3 strings at the 3rd fret. And the next variation we're going to play is C7, or C dominant, where we took that note that we had here, and we're going to move it down a whole step. Gives us C7. Okay, so we have C, C minor, C7. All right, so what you want to do is write these things out. And the reason we want to write them out is because the act of somehow putting something to paper tends to make it stick out a little bit more in our minds. It's like taking notes at a lecture when you go to college. It kind of like makes it stick. You know what I mean? Well, here's the thing. Since you're already on healthyukulele.com, if you go to the same page that we're on here and just look above, you'll see some PDFs. And the PDF you want to print out for this is the ukulele chord blank grid. And it will look kind of like this. Okay, so we have this up there on the website, and you'll be able to use that. Now, before I can show you the writing and the way I write this out here, I'm going to show you how I read this thing. Okay. All right, guys. So here's an ukulele, and the way our chord chart is written is just like this. If we were to blow this up a little bit bigger so I can get to it, you'll see that we have our string, 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 and then another string, right? And then we have the nut, first fret, second fret, third fret, fourth fret, and fifth fret. That's our layout that we would use. So if I were to draw that C on there, I'd just put a dot there. All right? And then I might play these notes open up here. Okay? And that's the way our chord chart's going to lay out. Okay, so let's go ahead and write in those chords that we learned. We learned how to play a C minor, and a C7. So let's start with the C. There's our C chord. Here's our C minor chord. And there's our C7. So we have C, C minor, and C7. And we can write these down right there so that you remember. Right? So we got C, and then we're going to write major, minor, and 7. Okay, let's look at the next ones. All right. Okay, so that's C major, C minor, C7. Next ones we're going to look at are going to be A. If I take finger 1, put it on the 3rd string, 1st fret. Finger 2, put it on the 4th string, 2nd fret. I've got A. If I lift up my 1st finger, I've got A minor. Put it back on, lift up the 2nd finger, and I've got A7. Okay, so the same theory applies here, right? So here's my major, my minor, but remember the 7? All we did was we took this note, moved it back a whole step. That's how we got that A7. Okay, let's write those down. Okay, there's our A major, A minor, and A7. Okay, next chord is G. 1st finger is going to be on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. 2nd finger is going to be on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and 3rd finger is on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Now to do a G minor, that note goes back, right? See? Everything else stayed the same place. Right? G7, same thing. Goes back a whole step. Everything else stays in the same place. G, G minor, G7. Okay, here's our G. Our G minor, and our G7. Okay, now we're looking at F. Finger number 1, second string, first fret. Finger number 2, top string, second fret. It's like an A, but you bring down that finger, right? Okay, so with F, there's an interesting thing. Okay, I can play this way, but I can also add my finger here, and it's the same chord. It's still F. Right, so I could add my third finger to the first string, third fret, like a C. And that's going to be our optional note for F. Now when we go to F minor, this note is no longer optional. That needs to be there. So we're going to put these two like this, right? This finger basically went back a fret. And so because it's hard to try to do that, I'm just going to put this finger here, and that finger goes there. There's my F minor. F7, I've got this. I can put my pinky on that C, and I'll just put my ring finger here. That gives me F7. F major. And you know what? Here, let's do this. We're going to go like this. And put this note here. And we'll make this one a different color. We'll make it blue, because that's the optional note. And we have our F minor. And our F7. Last shape, guys. Okay, so the last shape is going to be a D shape. You can play it with your 3 fingers on top, or just one finger going across, whichever finger you want. I use this finger. I use my second finger. Okay, to make it a minor, that note has to move back. And to make a 7, the root note would go back a whole step, which gives us a D7. Now, here's the thing. That D7, it's kind of missing something. It's missing the D note. This is actually an F sharp diminished triad, but we're calling it D7 because what a D7 chord is a D note with an F sharp diminished triad underneath it. Okay, so this is kind of like a substitutional dominant chord. So we're calling this the Hawaiian D7. All right, let's take a look at how we're going to write this one out. Major, minor, and dominant. There you go. C shape, A shape, G shape, F shape, and D shape. All right. So that whole thing, CAGFD, I have people remember this by the phrase, cops always get free donuts. And I mean that is no disrespect to any police officers or anything like that. I respect you guys and thank you guys for what you do. It's just an easy way to remember those things. And the more ridiculous it sounds, the more it sticks out in your mind. I myself, if I could get free donuts, I would do it. So cops always get free donuts, CAGFD. And the way I would practice this is just like that. Okay, I'd go over each shape, major, CAGFD, then minor, CAGFD, and dominant, CAGFD. So it would look like this, right? I play C, A, G, F with the option, and D. Then I'd go to the next one, minor, C, A, G, F, and D. Then I'd go to dominant, C, A, G, F, and D. All right, so I told you guys we were going to learn 180 chords today, but that's only 15. So how do we get 180 from 15? Well, remember that thing we did at the beginning with the musical alphabet? Check this out. C, A, G, F, and D. Those are only 5 shapes, but with those 5 shapes, I can play every chord. If I go here, C, move it up, I've got C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, back to C. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. We take that one shape and move it up. I can do the same thing with the minor. C minor, C sharp minor, D minor, D sharp minor, E minor, F sharp minor, G minor, and so forth, all the way up the neck, right? Until we run out of notes and we start repeating ourselves. Now, if you did that with every one of these guys, guess what? That's right, 15 times 12, 180, right? So we've got 180 chords that we can play if we take every one of these things and move it into every position. Now, you might notice that there are a lot of the chords that have the same name and they're moved all over the place. If I've got 5 chords of each of these pictures, that means I have at least 5 variations of each of the same chord. And they funnily work out in this way. C, A, G, F, D, cops always get free donuts. If I take my C shape, where the root is, right, this is a C note right here, and if I bar that and do an A shape, I've got another C. Where that is, if I put my finger there, I skip a fret into a G shape. Why do we skip a fret? Because in G we skip that fret, right? I've got another C shape, right, where my pinky is here. If I put that finger, bar, and do an F, I've got an F-shaped C. And I can put my pinky down, remember that, the optional note? Where that optional note is, if I put my finger there, play a D shape, I've got another C. And where that is, I bar it and do a C again. So look at that. Cops always get free donuts. That's all my C chords all over, right? What if I started with D? Donuts, cops always get free. Well, what about those other notes like E flat? Well, there's a D, here's my E flat, right? D shape moved up a fret. It's still a D shape. Donuts, cops always get free. That's all my E flats all over the neck. All right, guys, hopefully this has been somewhat helpful. Practice this. Get this under your fingers. Some of these chords aren't easy to hold, but the more you do it, the easier it'll get. Okay, so repetition is the mother of skill. Keep it up, and I'll see you on the Zoom call. Aloha and mahalo.